They say great art comes from great tragedy. This couldn't be more true for the songstress of Fleetwood Mac. Through her drive and passion for creating art, the bohemian rock queen found an avenue to overcome her obstacles, going on to become the only woman inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice.
Wait till Fleetwood Mac hears that.
For decades, she's fronted one of the most successful bands in history. Even with the trials and tribulations of being a member of Fleetwood Mac, Stevie's remained an iconic role model, staying synonymous with the witchy, transcendental, deep-rooted mysticism of a fairy godmother. Her enchanted songwriting, strong will, and powerful presence on stage has endeared her to women and men all over the globe.
I'm inspired always. I'm forever inspired. You know, when I'm not inspired anymore, I'll stop writing songs.
Relive the turbulent life of one of the last old-school rock stars left. This is the tale of Stevie Nicks.
In the beginning, there was a song. I was in the 4th grade and lived in El Paso, Texas. I heard it on the radio, bought it, and learned it. Then me and 2 of my little friends performed and sang for anyone and everyone that would listen. It was called You Cheated, You Lied. I don't think it was really called that, but I don't know what it was called. That's the only part I know. I fell in love with it. That was my first performance, says Minnie. And this was what it was. You cheated, you lied, you said that you loved me. You cheated, you lied, you said that you need me. Oh, what can I do but just keep on loving you? Oh. Now I'm driving my parents crazy with this. That was the beginning. In the beginning, a little later, there was a Buddy Holly song, 6th grade, I think. I think me and the same friends did a tap dance / vocal choir performance for a talent show every day. Every day, it's a getting faster every just go ahead.
Her grandfather, A.J. Nicks Sr., pushed Stevie into the world of music, where she developed her own little musical world. Barbara, the devoted mother of Stevie, was overly protective of her daughter. Growing up in the 50s, Stevie was kept inside the family home more than most her age. Here, Stevie's love of folklore, fairy tales, and fantasy evolved.
You really see this later on in her writing, whether she's talking about Sarah or she's talking about Gypsy or these different kind of female characters she has. It definitely pulls from those early experiences.
Stevie's love for music began in adolescence, singing back to the records of her idol, Janis Joplin.
Love like this will surely come my way. Hey, hey, hey. 6th grade. Truly, my parents are nuts by now. And in the beginning, after my family had been transferred to Salt Lake City for the 8th and the 9th grade, and then to Arcadia, California, right across the street from the Santa Anita racetrack, pretty ritzy in comparison to Salt Lake, something brilliant happened. I took a month's worth of classical guitar lessons, and my teacher decided he wanted to go to Spain, so he sold his Goya classical guitar to my parents for a plane ticket to Spain. And they gave it to me for my 16th birthday, May 26th.
Which she used to write her first song, I've Loved and I've Lost, and I'm Sad But Not Blue, an aptly named song that seemed to foreshadow her life story. The song became the genesis of a songwriter that would become known for pouring her heartache and happiness into her lyrics.
I had just met a drop-dead gorgeous guy named Steve Dole who stole my heart over a 5-week period. This was a long relationship. 5 weeks, and then broke up with me for my best friend. And for the first time after all those years, like since the 4th grade, of singing other people's beloved songs, I understood what love was and why people write these songs. So I called my parents to listen in to my new song, and I, forever the drama queen, sang it to them, tears rolling down my face. When I was done, my mom rushed over to me and said, "Oh, honey, that was beautiful." And my dad just stood there with his steely blue eyes and said, "Well, sweetheart, I think you've done it. It's a good song." That really was the beginning. I think that's when my mom and dad knew that I was gonna do this and that there wasn't gonna be any question. The question was, from my mother, you will get an education because you will probably be a famous rock and roll singer or a country singer or whatever it is that you're, or an R&B singer, whatever it is that you're gonna be, but you will be educated. And you will be able to stand in a room full of incredibly intelligent and intellectual men and keep up with them. And you will be an independent woman.
She followed her father's business relocations around the United States, and she eventually ended up in California, which is where she met Lindsey Buckingham.
On her move to California, Stevie joined her first band, The Changing Times, coupling her dynamic voice with harmonies to sing folk rock music. Moving into the senior year, Stevie left The Changing Times behind. During senior year in Atherton, California, Stevie would be introduced to the voice that would harmonize with hers for decades to come, Lindsey Buckingham.
In the senior year of high school, Buckingham was in a psychedelic rock band called Fritz, but 2 of its musicians were leaving for college. With places in the band to spare, he asked Nicks in mid-1967 to become the lead singer. A year later, Fritz would open for 2 of the biggest names in music, Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin, both of which had influenced Stevie Nicks heavily, so this was a massive deal to her. You can see these early inspirations in her stage presence and intensity.
Stevie would later reminisce about one performance in 1970, stating that being yelled off stage by Janis Joplin for running over time was one of the greatest honors of her life. Unbeknownst to them, the 2 bohemian women would go on to make history, becoming a part of the 14% of women inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Stevie didn't have much luck at university. She started off attending San Jose State in Northern California with Buckingham, where she majored in speech communication, and she thought, you know what, I'm gonna be a school teacher, which you can kind of slightly see actually in a kind of hippie 1960s, 70s sort of way. But with her father's blessing, she decided to drop out and instead went in search of a musical career. Buckingham right by her side every step of the way. Now, she started her career in Fleetwood Mac almost happenstance. Fritz disbanded in 1972, but Nicks and Buckingham continued to write as a duo. And, you know, I just absolutely love it because Stevie Nicks is waiting tables to try to support them. In 1973, Buckingham and Nicks put out a record. They were very excited. They'd been signed to Polydor. It seemed like things were going in the right direction for them. And the record is called Buckingham Nicks, very original. And it has the song Frozen Love on it. That's the title, the first single. And unfortunately, the single really doesn't go anywhere. The record really doesn't go anywhere. Stevie is still waiting tables. Now, what this record did do, however, is it got in the ear of Mick Fleetwood.
Over in England, the ever-changing band Fleetwood Mac were going through their most challenging period to date. With the recent departures of Green, Spencer, and Kerwin from Fleetwood Mac, the band looked to evolve from the blues outfit they had originated as.
Shall I tell you about my life? Let's say I'm a man of the world. I've flown across every tide. I've seen lots of pretty girls.
1974 saw Fleetwood Mac relocate to Los Angeles. But by 1975, Bob Welch's Fleetwood Mac career had come to an end after his fifth and most successful album fronting the band. After a confusing period for the band and the departure of the newest member of the band, Fleetwood Mac were once again in search of a focal point, a guitarist with charisma.
In 1974, Mick Fleetwood goes in search of a recording studio. While in Sound City in California, he stumbles upon the Buckingham Nicks record and falls in love with the Buckingham Nicks track Frozen Love. He's so impressed with Buckingham's guitar playing, he asks Lindsey to come in and do a test with the band. Now, mind you, we've already gone through 6 guitarists at this point, and so Mick Fleetwood needs another guitarist if he wants to keep the dream alive of Fleetwood Mac continuing on. Now, Lindsey is adamant that him and Stevie are a package deal, and he refuses to join any band without Stevie. So that is how the formation that we know and love of Fleetwood Mac came to be.
You've been at this for a long time with this
Fleetwood
group,
Mac, yeah.
With Fleetwood Mac. What changes have you noticed, or how would you express the changes in your music through the years?
Well, basically, it depends on people that obviously that listen to the band. The change really that has come in recently came in on Chris McVie, John McVie, and myself, which basically has been the basis of the band for about 5 years at any rate. And then prior to that, myself and John were the rhythm section. John plays bass, I play the drums. And the changes are purely writers that come into the band, like Stevie and Lindsey both write, and members that have since passed on, as it were, out of the band were writers. And there is definitely a strain of Fleetwood Mac through the whole thing, although there's been a lot of different styles of music. But it really depends on the listener rather than the people in the band to relate to how they feel about the changes.
How do you feel that your addition to the band has changed what they were doing, and how has it changed what you were doing?
Oh, it changed what I was doing a lot. Well, just as a writer, you know, sure, I'm going to touch them with my songs, you know.
Is it a collaborative effort when you put a song together? How much input does a writer have with the way it's going to sound on the record?
For me, it's very collaborative because I play guitar and I play piano, but I'm not a virtuoso at either. So I just sort of write a song very, very simply, and then I just sort of have to say here, because I can't go out and put all the great sounding parts on it because I just don't have the knowledge to do it. So I have to pretty much, you know, give it to them and say, do with it what you may, you know. And then I'm always there going, well, I'm not sure I like that way of doing it, but at the same time, on this particular album that's just gone by, everything they did on all my songs was, I couldn't have done them. If I had the knowledge to do them, I wouldn't have done them better, I don't think.
We found out the natural fact that Stevie was, one, very much involved with Lindsey as a person and as a creative duo. So really one came with the other. But initially it was, I think, to be honest, an intent of getting another guitar player.
If you wake up and don't smile.
New Year's Eve 1974 marked the evolution of Fleetwood Mac's music. With the addition of Stevie and Lindsey, the band moved towards a more pop-oriented sound.
Don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Don't stop. It will soon be here. It will be better than before. Yesterday's gone. Yesterday's gone. Why not think about the times you took? I'm gonna bet how the things that you've done. If your life
the change that comes about when Buckingham and Nicks joins is you have something that I think is not tiny. I mean, obviously Albatross is a hit in the UK, but you suddenly have something, maybe it's because it's British and American together, so right away there's 2 points of definition from different other bands, but you also have the sensibilities, the heritage, all those ideas coming together. In a way, both places will be of interest, but pulls from the pop tradition of both those places as well. And that's the big change that you see. You see the finished product being something that, while it still definitely is a nod and an homage to those places they come from, it definitely is more geared and polished to being on commercial radio.
Stevie and I met one evening up at Nick's house, and it just seemed that we didn't compete with each other ever. You know, we didn't compete with each other the first night we met, and we literally really haven't since then.
Stevie's first addition to the Fleetwood Mac discography was with the witchy hit Rhiannon. Written 2 years before the pair had joined the band, the song was inspired by the story of a girl possessed by a spirit named Rhiannon. Chosen as the second single on the eponymous album, Rhiannon went on to solidify Nicks' status as a songwriter, as the single reached number 11 in the US charts. The song would later be voted one of the greatest hits of all time by Rolling Stone magazine.
The self-titled record, I think, is such an important record because it shows the possibility of what this band can do. And again, we're so deep into putting out records with the original Fleetwood Mac, again, the rhythm section holding it all together. We're so deep into Fleetwood Mac as a band, even though it has rotating members. The fact they can come out in this new formation and have a #1 song with Rhiannon, which is still, I think, one of the best songs ever written, period. Beautiful, cascading vocals, catchy, everything about it. It shows the possibility for them making another commercial record. And that record is so important for that.
By now, Nicks had become synonymous with the gypsy bohemian image. Inspired by the fantastical books she read in her childhood and her idol Janis Joplin, Stevie was striding on stage in platform boots and low-hanging shawls. The unique look was designed by friend Margie Kent.
She's quite a diminutive figure. She's quite short, Stevie Nicks is. And so she wanted, when she first started being on stage and being really in the, fronting the band the way she does, she wanted to have a visual impact for someone that was sitting further away. And that's where the styling started to come from. And if you look at that, it's, again, if we're looking at the idea of the counterculture being put into the mainstream culture, you have a lot of those kind of hippie elements with the shawls, and like when she holds, I don't know, like a veil, I think she, a lot of times, and just her whole kind of black magic look definitely has those hippie elements to it and influences. So again, it's bringing that into the mainstream culture in a way that I don't think any other figure did before her.
And she's a bit more trippy and, a bit more, people say hanging with the fairies, but she's not really. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's an archetype of those. There were a certain sort of women in the 70s, who'd always, their handbags would always have kind of, a packet of tarot cards, maybe a couple of bones, perhaps some cigarette papers. She's like one of those there were lots of those, basically, but she's a very particular version of it because she's very pretty. She's a great artist. On stage, she really becomes a focal point for what Fleetwood Mac become.
She is kind of like this iconic feminist figure, although she's never positioned herself like that. Like she's very strong and very sensual and never shies away from being different and eccentric. So she's kind of like the ultimate cool, eccentric auntie that you want to grow into. She makes hippie look sexy with the shawls and the feathers and the top hats in a way that I think is timeless.
Yeah, I'm known, my big strength is known to do a lot of stars hair. And a lot of people in the rock and roll field, and I guess that's where I build up my reputation. Didn't you color her hair, Stevie? Yes, you did.
No. Yes.
Yes. I mean, look at the job she did. It's a beautiful, rich red.
And this, we call her Red now.
Okay.
It was quite an experience to have the Queen of Rock and Roll work on my hair and do it so well. I love my color. Don't you?
No, I love it. I'm very proud of, she's as good a singer as she's a colorist.
Yes.
That's great.
It's going to look just like this when I get done.
Tell us, are you going to change your profession at all?
Well, I never thought about it, but I'm getting into this. Maybe. I just might do this in my spare time, yeah. Wait till Fleetwood Mac hears that. No, I just enjoy doing this. I have to do it for myself, so I practice on me, and then I do other people's hair when I get it down to a point where I really like it, and then I go back and take another risk on myself, and then I kind of keep going.
Do you find it fun?
I love it. If I wasn't a singer, I would have been a hairdresser.
Did you at one time have to pick which one at all?
I wanted to go to hairdressing school, and my parents insisted I go to college to be a second-grade teacher, and I turned out a rock and roll singer. So, but I had plans to go to school. You didn't even know that. I did.
Didn't know this.
Yeah.
What certain techniques do you have to learn to tone hair? Is there special ways you have to... Did you go to beauty school at all?
No. No, but when you have to do your hair every night for a show, and there's nobody there to do it for you, and you have to look good, you have to learn to do it yourself.
Did you ever make mistakes on anybody?
Never on anybody else. On myself, a couple of times. Yes. Down to the drugstore to get something to, like brown to cover it up, yeah. But it's all right because I can always fix it. I never go quite too far.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
They've quickly recorded the Fleetwood Mac album, and then they go out and work it for 6 months at least on the American road. And it gradually gets bigger and bigger and bigger, this record, and singles come off it. And, by the end of 1976, the record sold 4 million copies, and their lives have been utterly transformed. But I don't think, the dramas that were happening, the soap opera of their lives, was it before they get the success, when they're still, as Stevie Nicks said, she's kind of surprised. They go on the road and Christine McVie's in the back of the van sleeping on the amps, on top of the amps, you know what I mean? They're kind of still, You know, it's not kind of limos and, you know, carry me to my suite at that stage. It's kind of still pretty rootsy. It's not very much different to what Christine McVie would have been doing with Chicken Shack going up and down the motorways in England, you know? They're kind of at that stage, but that's when their relationships are falling to bits.
Looking seemingly relaxed in the public eye with their newly found commercial fame, tension between Lindsey and Stevie grew. Chemistry within the group had started to wane, as the McVies' marriage had also become problematic.
How about touring? How do you feel about touring? You've been on a long tour.
A very, very long tour. In fact, the longest
really,
I've ever
May
done.
10th. We had a month off in Hawaii, but we have not really had any time off. A couple days in LA here and there, you know.
How does that
really.
Work with the band?
Mm-hmm.
How does that affect everything?
Well, I mean, for obvious things. I mean, people get tired, and you tend not to have or allow yourself the time to do things that you'd like to do, because you literally have to pace yourself through the day. You're traveling, and like today, last few nights, for whatever reasons, a few of us haven't had the right amount of sleep. So you really seriously have to say, well, you don't talk too much, you don't let yourself think too much until the last couple of hours in the evening where you pull yourself together.
How about the hit single? All of a sudden there's a hit single that takes off.
Yeah.
When you're putting it together, can you sense something about it? Makes it different?
No, in actual fact, that was, as a track on the album, was not considered. Obviously, when you made an album, you say, well, that, and that would probably be in order of preference to be the obvious single. And that one wasn't the one until it just crept up, where it started being played a hell of a lot. And then it occurred to us that, in actual fact, because of that, we should make it the single, which we did.
In other words, you in this instance at least, waited for public taste to
Absolutely.
tell you what it was?
It was purely down to that. It was creeping up behind everything else and was always there. And because no one had thought of it, it was a more healthy thing to do, to release that. And I think it's a sort of record that's not going to instantly be there, but it's creeping in and it's doing really well, which is always the best way to get a hit record, something that stays there for a long time and doesn't... very obvious hit records sometimes bore an audience after a couple of months being played on the radio. People can't stand it, you know, which I don't think would be the case with this particular record.
Do you think it signals a new direction musically, or is it just a continuation?
No, I think it's just really fortunate. You know, we're really happy about it. There's no... The only difference would be, sure, you now know that you've got a hit record, and that's it, and you hope you have a load more. It definitely gives people the chance, at any rate, which is always the way of, oh, well, they're not going to have another hit, or this one isn't as good as that. But that always happens, whatever you do. You know, even if you're playing the local village hop, you know, and you play down the road in a big ball, and people say, oh, well, not as good as they used to be. It just gives people and critics more apparent things to like or not to like, you know, which is part of what we do, and you accept that.
Feeling pressured to release a new album, the band returned to the studio. Fueled by alcohol and cocaine, the five-piece band began to write and record the album that would cement their names in music history. The release of Rumours in 1977 gave the band their first Grammy Award and eventually became the 8th best-selling album of all time.
This feeling follows me wherever I go.
In terms of the themes, I think were about the relationships that were happening in the band itself.
I mean, obviously that becomes the subject matter of Rumours, but I think, you know, it was just one of those points in time when, you know, they meet as all their relationships are collapsing.
And the thing that's been mythologized about them is that Rumours, especially obviously, is all about them breaking up and the different, like Christine McVie being with the lighting man and all of that kind of emotional turmoil. And that's become the mythology around it. So it's hard to know like how much of that is real and how much we've kind of created. It seems quite real. And what makes it seem real is how powerful those songs are. Because if you've ever been in love or had your heart broken or been in any sort of emotional turmoil yourself, you listen to those songs and those songs capture those feelings. So I think the songs capture what a lot of, like most people have been through at one point in their life. And then all the media attention that either came at that time or afterwards talking about that, again, just kind of underscores how important and how real and authentic those songs are. So I think that that was a real crucial part to not just the making of the record, but what comes after the touring and the way that they've been remembered, I think. First we have Lindsey and Stevie. They're breaking up after a very long relationship. We have Stevie eventually starts secretly dating Mick Fleetwood. We have Christine McVie and John McVie breaking up, and Christine McVie starts dating the lighting guy, and she writes "You Make Loving Fun" about that relationship.
Utilizing the heartache of their eroding friendship, Nicks contributed Dreams. Similarly, Buckingham had written Go Your Own Way, an equally critical song about Nicks.
Lindsey Buckingham brings the lyrics for Go Your Own Way to a practice, and Stevie's reading the lyrics going, oh my God, this is about me. And she has to go up on stage every night and perform that. I mean, again, getting goosebumps talking about it. I can't even imagine what that must be like. And then her kind of rebuttal, if you would, is Dreams, which is quite very lush in the way the lyrics are, but the production as well. So again, those two songs almost show that fiery nature of Lindsey and the more kind of contemplative Stevie Nicks. And the sadness and how sadness is really displayed in both those songs, how that comes about. I'm projecting probably thinking this, but can you imagine being in that situation in terms of who's saying what to who, and when you're in a band, you're in the studio, you're in an incubator basically. So there's all these different breakups and ruptures and uniting of other people, and who's telling who what, you know what I mean? Like the name itself kind of says it all, I think. And the fact that they were able to still continue on as a band, but also put that into songs, I think that's what again makes it such an important record. Because most bands would just split up. Most bands would just be like, you're an evil, horrible person, I hate you. But no, they continue on and then go on to tour it around the world, which is just, you know, it's no surprise that the excesses they go to, because that was a way of self-medicating. One of the things that Stevie has said is it's very, very field of tension. And I think that in a way, is what makes it, again, so enduring, is because that is visceral when you're watching them perform, when you're hearing the music. And I think that's one of the reasons they didn't break up, really, is that they're stronger together, really, than they are apart in some ways.
By the time Fleetwood Mac headed on their world tour of Rumours, cocaine had begun to take control of Stevie's life. Excessive use during the making of the album led Stevie to develop an addiction to cocaine.
Songwriting with Channel 4 News. How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Excellent. I think I met you 3 years ago, or when you first played Dallas. Talked to you and Mick at the Fairmont Hotel.
Was I wearing my glasses?
No, you're wearing a nice hat though.
Oh.
Can you tell us a little about why you chose to tour again while you're rehearsing for a new album?
Because we love to play, mostly. We just got itchy. Everybody just wanted to go. So we said, let's go.
Well, you're tired of rehearsing, you mean?
It's not the same, you know, it's not the same to not play for people. You need to do it. I mean, periodically, you need to go out and play. It's real important. Otherwise, you forget that there's an audience out there. You just become a recording band.
Yeah, the Rolling Stones recently did an innovative concert tour where they played some stadiums, some medium-sized halls, and some really small halls. Do you anticipate Fleetwood Mac might ever go back to playing small halls just for the experience of it?
Sure. Fleetwood Mac likes to play anywhere. I mean, it doesn't really matter where we play.
How's the group getting along these days?
Fine. It seems to be the rock in my life.
See the what?
The rock in my life.
You're not caught between a rock and a hard place anymore, are you?
No, it's just strong. It just stands very strong.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, it seemed like when you first joined the group, there was a lot of gossip. And now we don't hear too much about the gossip. People are talking about the music. You find that a relief? What is your reaction to the change?
Well, I think that people realize now that if we could come through that, we could come through anything. I mean, we realized that we could come through anything, you know. It hasn't seemed to hurt us, so the band's strong.
Later that year, the band went on to receive the coveted Star of the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The evolution from a British blues band into Californian soft rockers was complete.
Fleetwood Mac's one of the first bands on that level of visibility to have that kind of decadence, the rock star decadence. You know, there are other people before them, but it's just so over the top. And I think that them getting a star kind of, again, puts a stamp down of this is appropriate behavior if you are a multi-million selling rock star, literally with a star. And I think that that's something that is maybe a subconscious thing that people, even now, I mean, there's definitely an idea. Like, you don't say party like a mime, you say party like a rock star. And I think it links directly back to what we're talking about right now. And how something physical that you can look at in Los Angeles, that makes it that much more of a palatable connection.
Following on from the success of Rumours, Fleetwood Mac began to record Tusk.
When we were on the road, we used to do sound checks up on stage, you know, before the audience would come in, and it was basically a jam thing we did on every concert during that tour. Lindsey started doing this riff, da 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 da. So that's how the actual song was started. The idea was, which everyone thought really was pretty off the wall, was to record it in Dodger Stadium. I don't know why I thought of doing that, but... While I was in France, up in Normandy, there was a marching band that came out at weekends and would march around the town. And the idea then I'd had was to use a marching band on a future track so that you could actually do that live, although we only did it live in Los Angeles. I was hoping to be able to play one song and have the local marching band out of every town all over the world come out, because it would be a really good, warm feeling for the town, and it would be a good rapport for the audience to know their local band was playing. That, in actual fact, didn't happen, but that was my plan.
But after the Tusk tour, we were just flattened and exhausted. You know, we were physically and mentally just not... We felt that we deserved a break, and we took that break. We took quite a long break.
Over the years, the Fleetwood Mac songstress had amassed a stockpile of songs. Unable to record all of her songs for Fleetwood Mac's most experimental work to date, Stevie began to work on a solo project. July 27, 1981, was the moment Stevie Nicks was thrown into the spotlight. Belladonna, Stevie's first solo album, was launched to critical and commercial acclaim. Standing alone, she established herself as a force to be reckoned with. Her debut solo album reached #1 on the Billboard 200 chart, with 4 singles making the Billboard Hot 100, including Stevie's signature song, Edge of 17. Events during one week in December 1980 forced the basis for the hit song. The resulting grief from the death of her uncle and the murder of John Lennon drove Nicks to express her anguish through the lyrics. Belladonna remains Stevie's best-selling album. Returning back to the studio, Fleetwood Mac looked to recapture the magic that had disappeared on the Tusk experiment.
We decided we wanted to be outside of LA because we wanted to be without any distractions. We wanted to be just with the 5 of us and work something out, which turned out to be very, very pleasurable for all of us.
Nicks had to cut her White-Winged Dove tour short to record the band's newest project.
I write all the time. I just set up a kind of a Vangelis sort of piano situation recording thing in my living room in Los Angeles. And I'm learning to use it, and I love it because I do write a lot, and it's making it easier for me to write and not take quite so much time.
There I was to the gypsy that I was.
I don't write for Fleetwood Mac or for Stevie Nicks. I just write songs. And Fleetwood Mac has their pick of what I do, and they have like thousands of my songs, you know, and they do the ones that they like. I always offer my favorite ones up first to Fleetwood. So I don't like save things for me. If I feel that it's really good and it should be done now, I don't like hide it away.
Maybe once, maybe twice.
Mirage, released in 1982, reached #1 in the US, becoming a certified double platinum record in the process. But the huge success of Belladonna and Mirage couldn't be enjoyed. Tragedy struck the reigning queen of rock and roll.
Stevie has had her fair share of tragedy and has been unlucky with love.
The story of Nicks's only marriage dates back to 1981, when her best friend, Robin, was diagnosed with a life-threatening illness.
Robin had been diagnosed with leukemia, and when she was in remission, Robin and her husband Kim discovered they were expecting a child. So because she was pregnant, Robin stopped the treatment for the cancer, and the cancer returned. And Robin actually ended up passing away 2 days after giving birth.
In 1983, 3 months after her best friend had passed away, determined to look after the newborn, Nicks walked down the aisle to Kim.
Stevie now says, we didn't get married because we were in love. We got married because we were grieving, and it was the only way that we could feel like we were doing anything. Sadly, the marriage only lasted for 3 months, and years later, it remains one of her biggest regrets.
On the other side, with a clearer mind, Stevie ventured onto her next solo project. Fleetwood Mac went on a hiatus, allowing members to develop their solo careers. The Wild Heart, released in 1983, featuring hit song Stand Back, pushed Stevie's record to double platinum.
I love the song Stand Back by Stevie Nicks because it's the ultimate, just like, I am powerful woman, hear me roar. And there's something about, she has the shawl, she has the different like gauzy, flimsy kind of ethereal dress on. She's spinning around and around, and there's something about it that's just, I'm an entity not to be messed with. So I love Stand Back, love it.
Still on the lengthy hiatus, Stevie released her third solo project, Rock a Little. Not for the first time, the extreme lifestyle of excess had pushed members of Fleetwood Mac over the edge. John McVie had suffered some drug-related seizures. Mick Fleetwood entered bankruptcy, and Stevie Nicks' demons had caught up. The band looked destined to disband. But Buckingham was unhappy to accept Mirage as their last album.
Stevie's addiction became so bad over the more than decade abuse of cocaine that her nose literally nearly collapsed, and she had to have extensive reconstruction surgery.
By now, Stevie's powerful voice had begun to deteriorate. Cocaine, cigarettes, and champagne all had their part to play.
Stevie Nicks has said that she thinks she did $1 million worth of cocaine over the time period that she was addicted to it, which I think she eventually kicks in 1986.
But that also got her into a different set of problems because the drugs that were prescribed to her, she then became addicted to, which was far worse than cocaine.
Making a turning point in her life, she recalled the time a plastic surgeon told her she could drop dead with one more hit of cocaine. Not wanting her fans to go through what she experienced, losing her idols Hendrix and Joplin to the 27 Club, she checked into the Betty Ford Clinic looking to overcome her addiction. Concerned about relapsing, Stevie was prescribed Klonopin, a sedative commonly used to curb addiction. During her release of Rock a Little and stint in rehab, the band had started to work on their next album. Not released till 1987, Tango in the Night was the final album by the Rumours lineup. But Stevie's consumption of Klonopin in the previous few years had taken its toll. The drug was known for adding weight to its user. Stevie had entered into a battle with depression, exiling herself from the stage until she looked better.
Stevie would probably have been at her worst, the Tango in the Night period, I think. Because she's completely, she's got several sets of pressures on her, not just being one of the singers with Fleetwood Mac. She's really a big solo star by then. So I think that would have kind of been, that would really, she would have imploded on that, really.
They were already so many records in, and if you look at kind of where music was at that second, the fact that they even had as much success as they did with that record, again, I think it shows how great the songwriting is on that, because there really wasn't many classic rock bands. You look at MTV at the time, videos from Tango in the Night were being played. Who else from like their contemporaries from the 70s were being played on MTV? How many of their contemporaries had teenagers singing their songs, buying their records? I mean, what an achievement that is to be able to cross over with that record into that youth marketplace, which they were able to do.
The release of Tango in the Night featured hit singles Everywhere and Big Love. But the subsequent world tour for their second highest selling album was postponed. Lindsey Buckingham quit the group, citing creative differences and lingering personal issues. Several months on, the band resumed their tour, replacing Lindsey Buckingham with Vito and Burnett. As the band undertook a major transformation, Nicks focused her attention on her own art. While suffering from depression, Nicks began work on a fourth solo album. The Other Side of the Mirror was a commercial success. In the process, she became romantically involved with the British producer of her record, Rupert Hine.
I would say she can be completely herself in her solo work. She's not having to cater or collaborate with other people, so she can do whatever she wants. And that tension, like I've heard her describe her solo work, is she feels free because there is no tension, there is no history, it's just herself.
Inspired by Hine and the turmoil surrounding her life, the single Rooms on Fire are the words of a woman who has accepted the fact that she will never be betrothed, have the kids she wanted, or experience true love. A heartbreaking account of her life's journey. The album gave birth to her only British tour as a solo act in 1989. But due to her increased dependency on Klonopin, Stevie had no recollection of the tour ever happening. The drugs meant to help her were becoming detrimental. Behind the Mask, the next venture by Fleetwood Mac, was released a year later. Without Buckingham's input, the band's sound evolved. Following the tour's conclusion, Nicks announced she had left the ever-changing band. Tension had grown. Aiming to save it for a forthcoming Fleetwood Mac album, Mick Fleetwood refused to allow Stevie to release Silver Springs as a solo work, leading a strong-willed Stevie astray. Nicks's departure left a void in the group. The band as we knew it was no more. 1 year later, at the request of presidential hopeful Bill Clinton, the Rumours lineup, including Stevie, reunited at the 1993 inaugural gala, performing the campaign-themed song, Don't Stop. Still undergoing her treatment to curb her addiction, Stevie was criticized for her weight gain. Looking back on her situation, Stevie said, "The Klonopin was worse than the cocaine. I lost 8 years of my life, and I didn't write." Things went from bad to worse for the trailblazing songstress. In late 1993, Stevie suffered a fall, cutting her forehead near a fireplace. In an attempt to turn her life around, Stevie checked herself into rehab for a second time, spending a painful 47 days in detox. During her time in rehab, post-production work on Street Angel was ongoing. Powerless from addiction and stuck in rehab, Stevie was unable to mold the final product. The album tanked, and criticisms about her weight reappeared, sending the bohemian rock queen further into depression.
To me, Rumours is like the quintessential record where everything else that comes after it, regardless of what genre, is built from the Rumours record. Again, and to have Lindsey not there is to take away that tension between him and Stevie that you want to see when you go see them perform and you want to hear when you listen to their songs. And they come as a package with all that history behind them that you know as a fan when you are engaging with their music. And so for him not to be there, I think it kind of shatters what you as a Fleetwood Mac fan want to experience.
Fleetwood Mac fans could rejoice once more. 2 years after dissolving, the band announces they are back working together in the form of Nicks, Buckingham, Fleetwood, and the McVies.
It's a thrill to be back. It's a thrill to be playing, if but for a short moment, on stage. And that's what we are. We're players, a bunch of crazy gypsies at heart.
Whoa, Diane.
The Fleetwood Mac entity, I think, is something that we've all come to terms with, that we can do things outside of the band without the band disintegrating and stopping, because we've already done that. We realize that, again, a lot of people think, you know, because people go off and do different things, that there will be no more band. I think we've come to terms with that within ourselves, and people realize that the continuous momentum of Fleetwood Mac may not be as feverish as it certainly was for seven solid years. And I think it's just something that we know we can come back to as people, as musicians.
When it was announced that they were getting back together, it wasn't just Fleetwood Mac fans, but I think because they become by that point so important in so many people's lives, it may not have just been people that had the records. The people that by this time, the songs were played often on the radio, they were incorporated into commercials. So it was a much bigger ripple than just the hardcore fans that were excited about this idea of them being back together.
Stevie further cemented her status as a role model by overcoming her addiction. Now in sobriety, a slimmed-down Stevie Nicks rejoined in time for Fleetwood Mac's induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1998. On the back of her Klonopin dependency in 1994 and 1995, Stevie had begun to write again. The effort culminated with Trouble in Shangri-La. Released in 2001, the album relaunched Stevie Nicks' career.
I love Stevie Nicks because she writes her own songs, writes incredible songs, has her own style. She never has really shied away from talking about her addictions and issues, but she's never made it the main thing of interest about her. She has always put her artistry at the forefront of everything that she does. And I think that makes her just completely amazing and badass.
Oh, how build you a kingdom in that house on the hill. Looking out for love.
It's interesting because she was such a sex symbol during the Fleetwood Mac years and in her solo career. But that's never been, like you see a lot of starlets and singers now, that's kind of the main thing is look how sexy and sexual I am. That never was with Stevie, it was just kind of organically who she was. And that made her that much more attractive and that much more of a role model. There's this idea of just being yourself is very attractive.
The ever-changing lineup of Fleetwood Mac evolved once more. Fleetwood Mac had started work on a new studio album, the first in 30 years without Christine McVie on vocals. Say You Will, released in 2003, was the only Fleetwood Mac album with a sole female voice, the soulful voice of Stevie Nicks. Without her partner in crime, Nicks reiterated her unhappiness with the final product. Arguments with Buckingham over its production was another core factor in her conclusion. Nicks toured with Fleetwood Mac until the end of 2009. In 2018, after a year and a half of planning the new tour, it was announced that longtime romantic and musical partner Buckingham had been fired from the band. After disagreements between Nicks, Fleetwood, and Buckingham had erupted, Buckingham was pushed to deviate from the touring plans. Nicks assisted in recruiting his replacement. Mike Campbell of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers and Neil Finn of Crowded House were named. This reworked lineup launched a world tour titled An Evening with Fleetwood Mac in 2018.
There's something about the idea of Fleetwood Mac that I've just always liked, you know, from the moment I saw them. And it just heartens me that they've kept going. And, you know as I said, I saw that O2 show, you know, where Christine came back on the encores. I thought the shows were fantastic. I mean, I was surprised almost. I thought they were still great. But they really were, you know. And Lindsey Buckingham, I did note, took a lot of the lead there. So I don't know what they're going to do now.
Fleetwood Mac are most known for, best known for, is not just the songs that we all have known pretty much our whole lives and have been there for us, but also all the other things that go along with it, whether it's the drugs, the decadence, the relationship breakdowns, all those things add layers of authenticity that anyone can relate to, whether you are a rock star or you are a rock climber or you're doing anything. Like it just, those are ideas that everybody deals with. And I think that is what they're most well known for. Not just writing the songs, but actually meaning what they're writing. And that's an important thing about the band.
April 2019, Nicks receives her second induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, making history by becoming the first woman to be inducted twice, once as a member of Fleetwood Mac and as a solo artist.
When you listen to like the greatest hits of Fleetwood Mac, it seems like Stevie Nicks sang a larger majority than you would think. Like to me, she is the main voice of Fleetwood Mac. Which might be an evil, horrible thing to say, but like most of their best known songs include a Nicks vocal. And one of the reasons I think that is because her songwriting style is so different and so original. You know, it's often talked about how she writes in a very mystical way, and she's witchy, and she pulls kind of these Celtic themes, but under someone else's pen, it may not work, but for Stevie, it works beautifully. So she just can create this whole landscape of imagery through her words in a way that most people would struggle to do.
Stevie has rightfully earned her status as the reigning queen of rock and roll. Her poetically vivid songwriting and powerfully dynamic voice has placed her on a pedestal higher than the rest. Shrouded in magic and mystique, Nicks has become a legend of the industry. Despite hitting many obstacles in her journey, from drug addiction issues to her luck in love, Stevie has proven her strength and resolve to stay at the top of the male-dominated industry for nearly 5 decades.
Stevie Nicks, can you hear me calling?